way to go. The answer is Jesus and Elevation Radio.
God bless you. This is Elevation Radio 1, and I'm your host, Pastor Steve, the Music Man Turner, and I thank you for taking the journey with us. This is the program that spotlights positive people doing positive work while serving a positive God whose name is Jesus. And I hope you like it because that's all you're going to get. Now, the title subject matter of today is the Council of Content Creators. Oh, my goodness. The Council of Content Creators. Can the dilemma of racism be solved? And so to discover the issues of life, I had to dig real deep and get some serious folks who think tanks, intellectuals, Christians who are on the upper up in terms of their relationship with God. And so before we get into that, let me get into the verse to rehearse.
Okay.
From Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 1 and 2. Go ahead.
Yes.
From the Queen.
And the word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, Thy shall the Lord God, because thy heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am the God. I sit of God in the midst of the seas. Yet thou art a man, and God through thy set thy heart as heart of God.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Someone trying to impersonate God, someone trying to be like God, someone trying to sit in the place of God. Wow. And so as we define racism, it's the belief that one group of humans possesses different behavioral traits corresponding to physical appearances and that they can be divided based on the superiority of one race over another. Interesting. And so let's just go around the horn here. Let's see. First, let's get a pastor. Let's start with you first, Pastor. Coach, give us, who are you? Give us just a brief synopsis real fast. I have to use big words today because it's a highly intellectual situation today. Synopsis, sir.
Praise the Lord, everybody. My name is Pastor Coates, and I'm the senior pastor of Chapel Possibilities here in Baltimore, Maryland. Also been pastoring since the age of 18. So for many years here, I've been on the battlefield for the Lord. Also with over 20 years of law enforcement background that I bring along with me to this conversation.
All right.
I just hope that I something that would be helpful to this discussion.
Sounds good. All right. Content creator number one. And let's go to Dr. Oliver.
Hello, I am Keneal Oliver Keels, and I am just a Holy Ghost-filled woman of God. I also am the CEO and founder of the first contract manufacturing organization and the first contract research organization owned by a black person, period. So I am instrumental in helping us climb out of the hole that we find ourselves in through policy and such. I have 12 years in infectious disease. I worked with everything that you can think about. I was part of the pandemic response team before President Trump dismantled it. And I'm just an all-around believer that God will do it, and he places us in places kind of covertly there
All right.
as part of a remnant.
All right. Thank you. We got some heavyweights today. Good God Almighty. And who else is on the line? Content creator.
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Can you hear me? Yeah, how's everybody doing? This is Tawanda Jones, the sister of Tyrone.
Praise the Lord, Tawanda.
The founder of the West Coalition. How y'all doing?
We are.
God bless you, woman of God.
Great. Nana, you were here.
Hey.
This is the Warrior Queen. Yes, indeed. So this is my panel of content creators, and they're going to solve issues today that we're dealing with in society, which is very important. What I want to do talk about really at some point. Since we're talking about with Tawanda, let's go here. I did some research because my celebrity VIP co-host, who hasn't called in yet, Dr. Mckenzie Jr., had challenged me to do research. So I've done some research and discovered that the practice of policing, my goodness, started in ancient China with the, looks like the Jin kingdom. And it progressed and migrated over into, eventually in 1619, to the slave catchers in America here. And so I wanted to say something, but first let me, Tawanda, let me ask you this question. What would you think if you had to refashion police work, because I understand there's a group, and I'm talking to the mayor now about reforms. I should have asked you about it, but if they were going to reform the police department, my goodness, I mean, talk to an expert, not some fly-by-night people. Then what would you do to reform the police department, who has all kinds of issues and problems in a short period?
The thing I would actually do is basically, like, some things I believe, like, before my brother was killed and even after, I really was, like, a big advocate of reform and things like that. But when you constantly see men, women, children being abused by police, it's almost as reform is a joke. So it has its ups and it has a lot of downs, and it just needs to be changed. The first thing I would do was knock away that officer Bill of Rights that basically places these officers above the law. So that would be the first thing that I would do.
All righty. And let's see here. Let's go switch on over here to Pastor Coates, former 20-year law enforcement veteran. What do you think of the situation of the police department and police brutality?
I think at this time what is needed is more training with the individuals. And not only that, but to hold them accountable. The same way that they hold the citizens of this country accountable, held accountable also for their actions. The same way that we are rushed to judgment and the way we're treated, they need to receive that same treatment, which will allow forth to bring change. And not only that, but to allow them to think before they act on the way that they handle the people of this country, or that they're sworn to protect and to serve.
Interesting. Well, perhaps they're handling them the way that they're actually trained to do it, or for their purpose. And in the terms of social action,
training is needed. We need to look at what the training that we have received so far and see that doesn't work. So there needs to be some other training needs to be discussed here. Some other training needs to be looked at. Other police departments where they have a better success rate, they need to look into that and see what are they doing that's different than what we're doing and other states are doing that can bring forth that same result.
Music Man, I would like to interject.
Go ahead.
I see this a little bit differently, and I see it a little differently because I, as an academic and not someone who deals with this on a day-to-day basis, but I have several friends that are currently serving overseas, Green Berets, Special Forces, and we actually had this conversation a few weeks ago where I pretty much told them that I think that the police forces need to be completely disbanded, and then it needs to be built up again. And there are three things that really stuck out for me with that conversation because I didn't have a response for it. So the police department already picked instead of picking the creme de la creme, that rises to the top, they picked the bottom and the middle level people so that they can forcibly indoctrinate them because they have no mental capacity to overcome the biases that they're taught in the training. And on top of that, they are poorly trained. They shoot before they even see it because they fail to realize that when they took the job, it meant that you could possibly be shot at. So now they're not getting it. Even a Green Beret can't just go out and shoot somebody for no reason. So they need better rules of engagement, and they need to be held to the Geneva Treaty like all the other military is, since they want to be a paramilitary institution.
Wow. Okay, we got it's a little spicy here today. And so while I have another member of the council has just arrived, I think he's the gold-plated member, I did some research because I was challenged. Is this Dr. Mckenzie, Jr.?
Yes, sir, that would be me. How are you, sir?
Okay, I'm fine. Speak to the rest of the council. It's Dr. Oliver. We got Pastor Coates. We've got the Warrior Queen, Baltimore's own, Tawanda Jones, and the Queen, of course. This is Dr. Mckenzie, publisher extraordinaire. Listen, I did some research, and I discovered that the police are authorized by the state to protect property, and also it says to protect the social class, which translates to the fact that the social class of the political theory of the sciences of the classes of hierarchy, the middle, the upper, and the lower class. They're actually there. Part of their job description or purpose is to maintain that kind of order. What do you got to say about that, Dr. Mckenzie, Jr.?
Well, say that. Explain that to me. You said that they are ordered to protect by class.
Yeah, maybe you didn't know that, sir. Because I sure didn't know it. So that's what it says.
Yes,
the definition.
But
social class.
Honestly, it wouldn't. Social class, and that actually would not surprise me, because when you put it in context with everything that's going on in this day and time, I guarantee you that the destruction of property has been only happening in certain areas. And if you were to look into those areas that were being looted or righted upon, I guarantee you it's not in that upper class part that you mentioned there, or even the middle class part of cities. That would not happen there at all. Honestly, I don't even think that you would have the ability to peacefully assemble, which is our constitutional right. They wouldn't even allow that to happen, I don't believe.
Well, let me. I'm thinking of the dichotomy. I have to use big words because I have an intellectual panel of think tankers. The dichotomy. When I used to work for BCPD, Baltimore City Police Department, good God Almighty, in the Northern District, there was Greenmount Avenue was the divisive line. If you went down the bottom of Greenmount Avenue, there was a different type of response time to crime and to issues. If you went up further, across 39th Street now, and over, you had judges and lawyers and all that, and they actually put, they had their own, I would say militia, but their own basically security force before the downtown partnerships and before everything else, that if you got caught back there, you had to pay a price. So separatism, social classism, that's what it's all about. They respond better to folks who have money. And that's what happens when the judges call downtown, call down to the mayor calls over to the police commissioner, the police commissioner calls down to the district, and it comes downhill. That's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
How would you change that scenario? Let me see here, Pastor Coates.
Well, I feel that there's a couple of things that the police needs to do. One, and foremost, is that the police they need to apologize for the century of abuse. That's the first thing that they need to do. Can everyone hear me?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the first thing that they need to do. And besides that, the second thing that I think that the police needs to do is also they need to just take and they should be trained to address their racial biases. You heard the key word I said was their racial biases. They need to be trained to address that. You know, and the third thing that should happen is that they should avoid situations that lead them to use force. I know that may be something difficult, but before I came into the department, my dad, who had 33 years on, taught me this and said, he said, son, being a good police is not about how many people you arrest, but how many people you can deter from you being arrested and change their lives. And I believe that to be true till today.
Thank God for him and your life. But when the reality is, and I shouldn't know if I say this, but when I was doing it, they had quotas. They had contests of how many car stops you were going to have and how many arrests you were going to make. And so we outdid each other, competing to try to arrest people. Do you know why?
And, you know,
anybody in the council knows why?
Today, that among their counterparts, that they do compete to see how many people they can arrest and things like that. How many guns can we get off the street or drugs and things like that.
But you know why?
What also happens is that they need to be held. They need to be held accountable in a very transparent way.
Okay, but let me ask you again. But does anybody in the council of content creators know why there was competitive action of arrests and car stops by police officers every month?
Oh, because you had besides your quota that you had to meet, the CIA was funding arrests for the war on drugs, and you got kickbacks and pensions from that.
Okay.
So information was classified in 1998.
You're very warm. I'll just say this: that there was a pool, there was gambling, and there was money put in the pot. So whoever had the most arrests or the most car stops or whatever got the money. Can you handle that concept that lives on the line are thought about only as a sport, as a competition? If you can think about that, you can understand the concept of shooting someone, or the ex-cop in Georgia who's after Ahmad and his son. It's sport.
But does that surprise you that it is exactly what you just said? What you just said, that it is sport to them, because they don't see us, and I've said this. They don't see us, and specifically black men. They don't see us as human beings. So anything that you don't see as a human being, it, like you said, it's sport to them. It's just like them born and hunting. And to add to what you were saying about the quotas and everything like that, I tell young men this too, that you have to look at the prison industrial system that we have that's out here. They're building these prisons, and they need a product in order to be able to put in that prison. So I tell the young men, you are that product. You are that product that they're looking to be able to fill the prisons with. So they will go out, and they know, hey, I need to get X amount of, offenders in order to be able to fill X amount of beds in this in the prison system. And that's the game, and I hate to say it that way. That's the game that's being played. So you can, we can talk about the police training and all of those things, which I think that there is some aspect of that needs to be done. But you can't train someone's character. They are who they are. That man that put his knee in that man's neck and killed him on camera, you can't train somebody not to do that. That's in his heart, and I've said that. That was in his heart to do that.
Hatred.
Right. There's no amount of training that's going to train that. The only thing that can be done with individuals like that are on these forces is they have to be held accountable. That means the DAs have to be able to bring charges against those policemen. They need to be able to be put in jail, not just have the charges brought, but be convicted of these crimes. And be put in jail, because that's the only way that it's going to be deterred.
Well, I'm not sure if that
might not. Wanda, I don't know if that's going to deter them. Wanda, I don't know if that's going to deter them. And the reason that I would say that is because you're dealing with a specific. I'm sorry, you're dealing with a very specific type of person, and you're fighting a class war where these poor white people have forgotten that the enemy of their enemy should be their friend, which is poor and disenfranchised black and brown people, so-called black and brown people. I like to call us melanated people, right? So we actually have more in common with them, but what hasn't changed over this course of the adoption and the ratification of the 13th Amendment all the way up until, when slavery got here in the 1600s, is that the poor white class, has always been the jailers and the wardens and law enforcement. So you have them being told all these hundreds of years that they're better than us, and the reality is not only are they not better than us, because with all the suppression, we still rise further than they do. I'm case in point. I'm from Poplar, born and raised, and I now have my own contract research organization. So I've held my share of oppression, disenfranchisement, riding the bus at 3 and 4 a.m. so I could get to school in Towson with the swimmer all day long. It's not that we're not there. There are some of us who have the tenacity to get there, but it scares the hell out of them. And until we start shooting them back, I'm sorry. Right. Until we start shooting back at them, right? And it being in a place where we have the right DAs there who are going to let us shoot them back and terrorize their homes and institute the same type of terror that the Knights of the Golden Circle, who infiltrated the KKK, which was the predecessor, which has infiltrated the higher rankings of law enforcement, until we get there and we start using their tactics on them and having the mob mentality that we're not going to sell each other out, we're not going to talk about it, and instituting our own class of people who are, rising in our neighborhoods and keeping the riffraff out, we don't have a chance at this point.
Well, all right. This program is now out of control. Let me hold on a second. Let me put a disclaimer here. The Elevation Radio 1 family does not support any actions of violence. God bless you. Now, let me go to. Thank you, Dr. Oliver. My goodness. Let me go to Warrior Queen Tawanda Jones on the council. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. I have a scenario for you, a true story. I want you to put your police hat on as if you were the police chief and tell me what you would do in this situation. A true story. Mr. Officer Marichal Boval has a 12-year veteran of the Westchester County Police Department in New York and the Mount Vernon, yes, in New York, has seen officers that work with him in the drug unit doing all kinds of unlawful things, falsifying documents, false arrests. He has actually seen planting drugs on folks, arresting innocent people, even working with drug dealers as business partners and then blaming other drug dealers, all types of stuff. And he has secretly recorded them and taken these tapes and flash drives and given them to his superiors. He's gone up the chain of command. He's even gone to the commissioner. Commissioner referred him to FBI. The FBI referred him to DA. It's been going on since 2014. It's now 2020. Nothing has happened. They're still working. If you were the commissioner, what would you do?
First of all, if I was the commissioner, on the spot, he would be fired. And then not only that, he needs to be charged to the fullest extent of the law. And that's the problem. Until we hold these officers accountable, and to me, I feel it's to a higher standard of the law because they're the ones who enforce the law. So until we hold them accountable, nothing's going to change. That's why I agree with the sister. We should knock it down, build it back up, because nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change.
All righty. I have to ask the Queen, what's your opinion? You're from New York.
I'm going to have to agree with Tawanda Jones. Nothing is going to change. And for sure, they would have to knock it down.
Knock it down. That's the general consensus. What do you think, Pastor Coach?
Well, I have to echo the same as both of the two queens before me. That definitely have to take place. I think what also have to take place along with that is that it needs to be a public display of what is being done. It needs to be transparent. The public need to be made aware that this is taking place. What the steps that are taking place as far as terminating this officer immediately. Also, if the evidence is there that he or she should be charged, they should be charged and arrested and placed in a jail cell, just like the average citizen, which have to pay a bail to be released until their court date and go to trial and look for a conviction and work along with the state's attorney to bring forth a conviction.
This officer here is a whistleblower against all the other officers who he works with, who have dishonored the badge, and that's something. He's a hero, and he should be celebrated. In the book, it looks like here, "Suspect Citizen" by Frank Baumgartner. Since I was challenged by Dr. Mckenzie to be scholastical, I had to go there. It says here that citizens are more likely, especially blacks, to be pulled over, searched, constitutional rights violated, and arrested, especially for drugs, CDS. However, more whites, according to the study, actually have more drugs in their vehicles. My goodness. What do you think about that? Either one, Dr. Oliver or Dr. Mckenzie, who wants to tackle that one? What would you do to that scenario? How can we protect our families and especially black men who are driving while black?
Can I interject for a quick second here? It goes back to what the young lady said a few minutes ago. We are hunted down. We're hunted down. They're sitting on the roadside looking for us. They're looking for these young black men out here driving certain vehicles or fitting a certain descriptions, quote unquote, to them. They're looking for us to hunt us down.
I verified it. It's called a profile car stop.
Absolutely.
You're not allowed to drive a good-looking car and be black at the same time.
And can I jump in real fast past that? Because I really feel some type of way because in this audience and even the people on the panel, in case they don't know, that's exactly how my brother Tyrone West was brutally murdered, brutally executed in broad daylight back on July the 18th, 2013. It wasn't no other reason for the officers, the first two that were in an unmarked car, Ruiz and Chapman, to pull my brother over, but because I had just purchased a new green Mercedes-Benz. By the way, I'm a teacher. But anyway, moving right forward, by the way, my brother, he was working. You know what I mean? So I called as David, something that ultimately got him targeted by killer cops, brutally murdered and executed, beat to death by 11 to 15. So when we look at George Floyd, that is horrible. And I don't want to take away from anybody death, comparing to death, but the way my brother was pepper sprayed, beat, stomped, kicked, and everything in broad daylight. And then ultimately, we have a 315-pound man, David Lewis, State University, had his foot on my brother's neck. My brother dying, screaming. He couldn't breathe. He's screaming out victim names, all this. And this was way before Eric Garner. And this was like literally for 358 weeks this week coming up. I've been nonstop protesting because they're going to learn that we are more than hashtags and body bags. We're more than being 6 feet in the dirt and pictures and buttons on T-shirts. Our lives matter. And the thing with us, we get outraged when we see something. Then something will just die down. And meanwhile, they're constantly killing us. So that's why when I see these officers now and everybody's getting so woo-hoo because they're taking a knee, they'll take a knee on that ground the same day and that night, take a knee on your back. That don't mean nothing. They need to open their mouth, tell what they see, or actually come out their mouth and say police brutality is not right. Moving forward, we will be making sure people be held accountable. They not doing that. That's short of a photo op to me. And I just had to jump in there because when you said that about, being targeted, and that's what happened, and then to learn that the first few killer cops actually had 5 other victims prior, leading up to a whole 2 weeks before they killed my brother. And all the victims cried out. Like 24 hours, it was Darrell Harris. He made a report to Internal Affairs that Ruiz and Chapman tried to kill him literally in the same neighborhood on Lock Raven Avenue. Then we had Abdul Salam with his baby in the car. He's a resident of this community of Kentmore and Tellsway. He lives over that way. The only reason why he got saved because the neighbors knew him. He had a faith, thank God. You get what I'm saying? And then we got Joseph Green and James Green. But it's just said that we are allowed just because of the color of our skin, or we can't have nice things and get stereotyped, murdered, and they still walk around. They get promotions. And literally, I did a drive-through safe protest last week because I'm really afraid of this COVID-19. Because that's another thing we need to take seriously and things of that nature. But anyway, when I was out last week, they had the nerve to send the cop that killed my brother, that's a repeat violent offender, that they now made a sergeant, Ruiz, down at City Hall. Thank God I was led by the Spirit not to go down City Hall. God told me, don't go down City Hall, my queen. God told me, go to the medical examiner's office and talk about how complicit they are with getting these killer cops up. So it ain't just a cold blue wall of silence to get these officers off. It's that it goes over, it pours over to the medical examiner's office, it pours over to the state's attorney's office, and then I can go on. But I just wanted to clear those points up, and thank y'all for listening.
Amen.
We will always listen to you because what you're saying is a sign of the tragedy of hatred that has permeated this country, hatred that is permeating this city with racism and hatred and discrimination, economically, socially, and that's really what your pain is really all about. And your pain is our pain. And so my story is that when I saw, or when I was actually involved with a gentleman they were trying to arrest someone, and I happened to be transferred to a new district, and I got there and didn't really know anybody. I went to try to help, volunteer to help, and when I tried to volunteer to help to arrest someone, I actually got on the scene and started talking to somebody, and they asked me, was the guy they're looking for there? I said, yeah, and once he was arrested, I didn't think anything else of it for over a year until I started getting summonses and subpoenas. Attorneys started speaking to me. I found myself in a trial testifying, which I did not want to do, for the defense about what I saw. And so they tried to suppress my testimony. They tried to say, don't go there. You weren't active. You were medical. You were this and that. And I still was forced to go. And I testified in a murder trial of what I saw. And I did not know that my colleagues and coworkers had lied and had pinned a false person for triple homicide. I just told what I saw. And the jury didn't believe them, all 18 officers and detectives and state's attorney. The jury believed me, one lowly officer. And before the court was over, the state's attorney came out and said, I hope you have a good attorney. I said, why is that? Why would I need one? Never been in trouble a day of my life. She said, because you're going to be charged with perjury. And they charged me, they arrested me, they locked me up.
What? Wow.
So my point is that for 30 years, I've been hounded, harassed, followed, wiretapped. I have a pile of job applications so thick it will blow your mind, but never have been hired because if I was ready to be hired on Tuesday, by the time I called back on Thursday, they didn't know what job I was talking about. Who are you? Because the band of brothers is so tight. You see, in Buffalo, New York, let's go there. 75-year-old man is standing. He's talking to 57 Special Forces police officers coming his way, and he's talking to them about whatever he's talking about. And they push him with the baton and knock him down so hard he falls back down, busts his head up. And they keep walking. They never stop to look at the humanity of the man. Dr. Mckenzie, Jr., what is going on?
But like I said, that's the inhumanity and mindset that they have. Because I saw that video that you just talked about, them pushing that older man down and him falling and hitting his head. And when the one policeman went to try and pick him up, the policeman that was right next to him grabs him and wouldn't let him go and try and take care of him. Told him to keep walking. And that's the, that's what we're talking about. And I just finished an interview with a young gentleman, and we were talking about that very thing. That this, to me, this isn't a black and white thing. This is a human thing. This is a human thing that you could actually, one, put your knee in the neck of someone and kill them on camera. That's inhumane. And just to speak to what
it's also inhumane. I don't mean to cut you, but it's also inhumane. I saw another video from another angle and further played where they took him in the back of the car on the other side of the street and beat him up prior to.
Yeah, right. So and none of us, and you hear different stories, and I heard that the cop that did this, that they worked at the same club together. So there was a prior relationship that was there with them.
Yeah,
so I don't know, like I said,
that's true. That's definitely true. I did my research, and I put out stuff that is not true, but that is true. They worked together for 3 going on 4 years, and the other that is not being charged, he actually worked at that night club 10 years. So you mean to tell me you don't ever seen your coworker that was working as a security guard on the inside of a nightclub, restaurant type of thing, and you work on the outside? You never saw made communication?
Right.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. So this is just the craziness, and even to what Tawana was talking about with her brother. That is, I was talking about this the other when we were talking about last year with my friends of mine. We were talking about what's the first thing that goes through your mind, and this, of course, all of us are black men, but what's the first thing that goes through your mind when you see those flashing lights in your rearview mirror?
Oh my God! I don't know if I'm gonna make it.
And we were like, no, well, not as well I'm going to make it. But here's the thing: most of us said, I'm thinking about do I have any tickets? Do I have any out? Do I have something that's out there that would give them cause to be able to stop me? First of all, and we could like Tawana's brother wasn't doing anything. Just you stop me for no other reason, and it winds up with somebody's life being taken. That shouldn't happen. How does that happen? And those of us, I lied to you not.
We got another caller. Welcome to Elevation Radio 1.
Hi, I just came across your show and related to the stopping racism globally. It's going to have to be every individual taking personal responsibility and developing a personal heart-to-God relationship, not necessarily through religion, but through spirituality. I have had quite a bizarre life. I had my life saved by police back in March 16, 2007. And I went through rehab. I was totally disabled with severe COPD. I relocated from New York down to Virginia in a prior independent senior apartment building. I was set up. I think I broke up the start of a witch's coven, and
Okay, we're back. Let's see here. There's a point I'm trying to get to at some point, but let's go. I'm trying to cut you off. Go ahead, Doctor.
No, I was just gonna say that it is most of our fears that when we do walk out that door and we may be driving, that is this the last time that we walk out that door or that we get in that car, and we should not have to be living like that. And have that even have that enter into our thoughts. That's a crazy way to have to live your life, and it's gotten to that level now where this is beyond, this is beyond not doing anything or just saying, well, they need to do this. No, this calls for the accountability that needs to be done. And I'm talking not just accountability for the cops. I'm talking the accountability for the DAs, the state's attorneys, the Fraternal Order of Police, all of the commissioners, all of those that take part in not holding these policemen accountable across the nation. Because this isn't just a Baltimore problem. This ain't just a Chicago problem, a Philly problem. This is a national problem.
This is definitely true. I have to stop here. I have to get this point across. My wife read Ezekiel 28:1. She read it for a reason. You missed it, Dr. Mckenzie, so I'm going to read it again. It said, "Then this message came to me from the Lord. Son of man, give the prince of Tyre a message from the sovereign Lord, that your great pride, you claim I'm a god. I sit on a divine throne in the heart of the seas, but you are only a man and not a god." And so why does she read that? It's because when I did some research about the land of Tyrus, it's defined as a rock. It sat on the immense north side of this, 25 miles off of Lebanon, in the northern kingdom. It actually was created by the firstborn of Canaan, and actually the grandson of Noah. It's a seaport town, and from that town actually came an individual, the king of Tyre. You may know someone else that came from that town of Phoenicia, which is called Jezebel. Wow. So the king of Tyre was actually not just a man, but he was an angel. He was the son of Satan. He was Satan, actually. Lucifer, son of the morning, the father of hatred, the father of sin. And hatred has its origin. That's the solution. It is from the devil. And so we must fight him with the power of love and also forgiveness, but also awareness that we can't harbor hatred or bitterness. Isn't that right, Pastor Coach?
Amen.
And so, although your oppressor, you can see him, you can look upon him, Tawanda, you can see his name badge, but understand that the person, the spirit inside of him, is not what you see. It is your real enemy, and that's Satan. That's the one that moves him and moves them to do what they do. Our goal is, what is our response? What do you say about that, Professor Mckenzie?
I think that there's truth to that, and it isn't say it is what it is, you know what I mean?
I'm saying it for my friend Tawana Jones and for all of us who have been hurt, traumatized, brutalized, and disrespected in different ways by racism, by hatred, that if we're going to get out of here, when we leave or before we go, we check out. We've got to make sure our hearts are pure and empty of bitterness and the root of bitterness and hatred for what folks have done to us, what they've done. Because in the end, God is the one who will take vengeance. I think that's what he reserved to himself. That's what he said. Vengeance
Can
is
I
mine.
say something, Pastor?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I honestly, Pastor, I believe that, and God a Christian woman and everything and all of that, and I have no hatred in my heart because even with, but at the same time, I notice this as being an African-American woman, a lot of African-American people are so quick to just forgive. You can forgive somebody, don't mean you got to deal with them and go give them a hug. You will never, ever see the day where I hug or greet the animals that killed my brother and that's killing my brothers and sisters. I can't do it. And I'm not anti-police. I'm anti-police brutality. But at the same time, I am not going to run singing Cool My Yard, hugging the killers that murdered my brother or looking them in their eyes saying that I forgive them. I want y'all to pray for me. Pray for me. But at the same time, I'm not running to them for forgiveness, and I'm not doing none of that. I'm going to run them down till they get prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. That's my duty.
Oh, yeah.
Can I ask something real quick? Can I add something real quick here?
Go ahead, Pastor.
I want to share something, and this is also a true story. I have a member of my church. A few years back, it was a high-profile case here in Baltimore City where her son was killed by some individuals. Her son was murdered here in Baltimore City a few years ago. And even though the individuals, they did catch the individuals and they arrested them and they are in jail till this day. Just recently this year, I was speaking to her the other day, and just recently this year, a couple of weeks ago, she's been advocating for their release. And I went to her and I said, I just wanted to know your reasoning for this. And she said, after everything Christ has been through for us, we still have to forgive. He still forgave us. He forgave even the thieves that were on the cross beside him. So because of that, we have to forgive. And I know it's kind of hard sometimes to forgive somebody who has hurt us, who has done us wrong, and all of those things. And it's so difficult to move forward. But once you release that thing to God and let it go, there's no other awesome feeling of having a weight lifted up off you, because at the end of the day, God can pay a person back way better than we can.
Oh, amen. I definitely agree. And I do understand and know. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And my heart rejoiced in knowing here's somebody. My mother has 4 sons, and I couldn't see her going down to the court, writing letters, getting petitions signed to get anybody off that have taken one of her children's life. And it's a really powerful statement and demonstration of what this lady's doing to free someone who killed her child. And it was a big publicized case here. I didn't want to call out the name or anything, but she's been during the trial, she testified on their behalf. Does that mean she don't love her son? No, it doesn't mean that. Her son wasn't in the wrong any way, shape, form, or fashion. And her son was big here in the Baltimore area. He did some big things here. But her thing was, these individuals were not taught right. You got to understand what are fed, what they're feeding into our young black men and women out here nowadays. How they're corrupting their minds and things, and they're training them to all this to build up hate in them. And I believe that hate is something that's taught, and anything that is learned can be unlearned.
No, correct. thank God I picked the right people on this program today.
I see this a little differently, and not just because I definitely believe in the power of forgiveness, but to use somebody who has a rough upbringing, I just told you I came from Pablo Grove. My parents were not around, and I grew up as an abused person, carried it into my adulthood as an abused person. And I don't abuse anybody. I have 3 sons that I take care of every day. I've been arrested for a false thing. I've been brutalized by Baltimore County police after I got tooth pulled. And those officers, all of them, because luckily for me, I've always been a person that saved, and I had an attorney that shook their whole lives together. And I won't mention the name, but let's just say he's been practicing law for like 60 years. They don't want to see him anywhere in the state of Maryland, which means he's not cheap. But just because we forgive people, and we should absolutely do it because Christ said to forgive people and to love them, but that does not always mean restoration of relationship. And I think that we as a totality forgiving and into restoring the relationship, because that's what's expected of us to do, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of it actually coming from a place where the Holy Spirit has worked in us and has helped us to see the end from it and let it go. You still have to suffer natural consequences, and I don't believe that they should have interjected it. I think I know the person, the high-profile case. I'm not going to say the name of it because in the end, I'm not going to do that to a sister who is going through her own process and going through her own healing. But I don't want anybody to say that abuse, neglect, all of that made them do it, because I came through it. My parents were not around at all. My dad is now 10 years deceased. He tried to make right on it. And even now as an adult, my mother is not around. My grandmother raised me, and she has her own issues in history with trauma and abuse. And I've never hurt anybody in that type of way. I've never done any of that. So it's individual resolve. It definitely is poisoning of the mind. But if you got somebody praying for you somewhere, just seeing you and trying to get you, you have to pray that God is going to send the workers to keep them out of that. So I think that's a cop-out in a little bit of a way. Again, that's her process and that's her healing, and I'm not going to, knock her for that. But I think that we really need to examine that as a totality of people, because if we keep projecting that image, we're going to keep getting this lack of respect that we're getting now, right?
Walked over.
Amen.
All right. Y'all are out of control. This program has ended about 5 minutes ago, and y'all still talking and counseling and giving theory and revelation. It's just fantastic. This is the Council of Content Creators. You're creating heavy content that will help somebody out there somewhere. That's fantastic. So and to summarize this and to wrap it up, somebody cut across me. To wrap this up,
sorry.
Was that my wife, the Queen?
Yeah, I was going to end it.
Oh,
it's okay.
Thou mayest always speak. Go ahead.
Oh, just to reiterate on what you were saying, that I look at it that, God's word is sufficient, as we all know. Am I right? And his word does not return back void. So I look at it whereas what's in the Bible is true. We have to forgive, because if we don't forgive our brothers and our sisters, how do we expect for the Father, to forgive us? This is something that it's that we have to do. I mean, the choice is yours. But if you're going to, walk up right before God and to do his will and to speak his truth, you got to do it. That's your trust in him. You cannot doubt what his word said because his word is sufficient.
Actually, it said, "Forgive and it shall be forgiven unto you." I cannot, just because I have forgiven you, I've freed myself, and I've actually I've freed the content of bitterness out of my life. It's very hard to do. God will come on the other side because there's an action, there's a consequence for every action. So the person will, unless you pray mercy, will get the end result of casting the sin into the earth. It's a law. And I've seen it. I had a supervisor who was always on my cases, setting me up and undercutting me and doing all kinds of stuff and embarrassing me, laughing at me, making fun of me, stealing my accounts and all that, and then rubbing it back in my face. And then so I kept my mouth shut and I took the abuse. And I saw her years later, and my God, I couldn't believe what I was looking at. God had given her cancer and eaten up half her face. I said, this is way more than I could have ever done to her. I'm so grateful. It's nice to see you. Take care. I'm out. And I just never thought. I'm glad I didn't put my hands on her or do some other crazy stuff, because God, He will restore, or He will give you what you have earned according to what you have worked for. Whew. Jesus is the one that gives mercy. God gives the judgment. He has compassion as well, but in the end, whatever you work for, you're going to get. So that's how it is. All right. Well, we've had a great time. I've enjoyed myself tremendously. I am very honored to have all these great intellectual minds in different facets and areas. I'm sure that the listeners will be, not for every just listener, but the listeners with the intellectual capacity of content, who don't mind going into the upper echelons. We're taken there today by Pastor Jeff Coates, yes, indeed, of the Temple of Citadel, is that Chapel of Possibilities. God bless you, sir. When's your service?
God bless you. Services every Sunday at 11:30 a.m. We start our morning worship at 10:30. We actually start our Sunday school, and on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock, we have a phenomenal Bible study. Our location is 4915 Ricerstown Road. That's right there at Ricerstown in Nelson. You enter on the Nelson Street side. If you're free on Sunday morning, please come on out and fellowship and worship with us. You won't be disappointed.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Do you have VIPs come down there like Dr. Mckenzie Jr.?
No, but we welcome them. We absolutely welcome them to come on by.
I want to tell him that it's what's the name of the street that you're on? He's real quiet for some reason.
That's
what's the name of the street you're on?
Ricerstown Road, right there at the corner of Ricerstown and Nelson.
Nelson, there's a liquor store there, and I don't want him to go there. Go right past that store now, Mckenzie. Go past the corner store. Go half a block and make a right. Yeah. Okay. Now, let's see. Let's go to Warrior Queen.
Yeah, I'm still here. So I agree.
All right.
I
do you have a?
I'm
sorry. Now I was going to say, do you have a fund? Any kind of? Can folks donate to your cause or do anything?
They can actually just keep me in prayers and support if they can. West Wednesday, we've been going online. They can reach me on my email at misstawanda, MISSTAWANDA 17@yahoo.com. And
Okay. Can you? Have you ever thought about writing a book about your brother and your experiences?
Yeah, I've been thinking about it. I've been considering.
Good.
But
I got your perfect man for you right here, Dr. Mckenzie.
My main focus is getting these killer cops and cell blocks. Once that happens, then I can put my foot up, write all the books in the world.
Okay, no problem. All right, moving forward, let's go to Dr. Oliver. Name of your business and how can folks contact you?
Yeah. Okay. I am the CEO and founder of Immunovation, and you can reach me at www.immunovation.biz, and I will spell it. It's just like it sounds. IMMUNOVATION.biz, and you can reach me that way. And I actually run the operations account as the CEO. It's a little strange, but I like to really interact with people. So keep us in prayer, because for us to go to the next level and really start to rebuild Black Wall Street as the first manufacturer coming out of this new generation, I need y'all's support and I need your prayer.
Oh, amen. And I'm wondering, I wonder who's, Queen, who's the guest for next week? Who's the sponsor for next week? I'm not sure who that person is.
Dr. Oliver.
I don't know. Let me go to Dr. Leroy Mckenzie, Jr. Go ahead, sir. Is he awake?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I had my thing on mute. I'm sorry.
Sir, we're running a professional program here, sir. A professional program. Go ahead. Keep up.
Well, I'm going to say thank you for having me on here. I appreciate it. These are some trying times that we're in right now, but we all know who is our strength and who gives us strength. And no matter what no matter how it may seem, we still have to trust and believe that God is in charge and that He is going to direct our paths in getting us through all that we go through in this day and time.
What's the name of your business, sir?
It would be JNF Enterprises.
What does that mean?
JNF stands for Jesus Never Fails.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Jesus never fails.
One more time for the Holy Ghost.
Never. Jesus never fails.
That could make me break out in song, sir. If I had an organ. Jesus never fails. Jesus never fails. Oh, heaven and earth shall pass away, but Jesus never fails. You don't know nothing about that. Y'all too young.
Did you just write a song on the air? Did you just write a song on the air?
Yeah. I felt y'all have got me there. So that's why they call me the Music Man. God bless you. And so, again, this has been an excellent journey. Remember, your enemy is not who you see. Your enemy is invisible. Your enemy is the enemy of God. Your enemy is one who hates you because he hates God, who you're made in the image of. Always fight with the right spiritual tools. Remember to keep your heart pure and light. God bless you. This has been another Elevation Radio 1 experience. God bless you. Take care.